So in this video, I'm going to tell you step by step what it takes to actually get your AI business, no matter if it's a low touch SaaS, high touch SaaS, and any kind of agency, what it takes to get to actually 10K a month or even scale it more to 100 and above. The reason I'm making this video is because I don't believe this kind of information should be gatekept. So let's get right into the video and talk about how you can do it too. Primarily in this video, we're going to talk about no code and low code solutions. We're not going to be looking at proper coding. So there is a lot of information in this space that you can just sell workflows. And as I like to call it, you just roam around holding end-to-end agent like handouts and you can just sell it for 1 or 2K, as many people tell you. But this is not how it works. And if someone's watching this and you have tried doing this, so you can let us know in the comment, how did it go? So the only reason your business exists is to make more money for you and other people, like actually providing value, making things easier, more streamlined. So to keep this video easy and simple, I've divided it into 3 parts, which is low ticket size, mid ticket size, and high ticket size. And in this video, by low ticket size, I mean anywhere from a couple $100 to $2,000. And mid size will cover 4 to 6,000 worth of automations and systems, and high ticket will be completely high ticket. For example, a single solution worth 30K or more. Right, so let's talk about low ticket products. As we already discussed, what you should not do. If you're a complete beginner, the first thing you should be doing is reaching out to people. If you want to get into this space, don't sit down to learn anything. Like if you're thinking that one day, if you keep just learning end-to-end for 1 or 2 months, then there'll be some huge realization or some magical day will appear, and then you'll start selling. Rather than doing anything, what you should do is look in your circle, reach out to people, reach out to business owners in your local area, and start providing these services. Right. So I'm going to be talking about all this in detail right away. So you should start pitching them your services and what you can do for them. And don't sell automations, and don't tell them that you have some kind of special AI that's going to help them. Just tell them the raw problem it's going to solve. Like your solution and offer should be so good that even if you don't add the word AI in it, it should sell. Because only results matter. Suppose this is your client system and you have some kind of automation or some new kind of system you're selling. If you implement this and it increases the sales and increases any KPI, so KPI stands for key performance indicators, right? Whatever the business is. For example, a KPI for a content business might be views, might be engagement. A KPI for some other kind of business might be customers, right? So if it doesn't increase their KPI, it doesn't matter. And there's no amount of technical work or AI or anything that can fix that. Like even if you took a wooden stick and put it through their computer and it increased their sales and whatever their KPI is, they're going to buy it. That's how simple it is. Like if you're selling something that doesn't get them results, it's not going to be worth it. So the first thing you need to do is start selling. And if you get clients, you can just build it. It's not even that hard. And there are many communities. We have our own community. We help people build it. And you don't even need a community. And there's a lot of information on YouTube. You can just follow that and build it yourself. Because what a lot of beginners do is that they fall into this trap that they want to start some kind of AI business, but they are not skilled enough. They don't know what to do. So firstly, they'll get skilled and then they'll do it. But what should you rather do, except for this, like don't do this in high finance services. What you should do in low and mid ticket sizes is that you should start reaching out. And when you get clients, you should talk to them. You should talk to them about their problems and how you can help them. And once you figure that out, that's where building and all this stuff starts. Like if you take 1 month and you build some kind of magical agent in your room, it doesn't matter. It does not have a real world output. It might not even actually work for the business, right? So if you're doing the low ticket and mid ticket size, or you're just starting out, which automatically means you have to do this, don't waste time learning the intricacies of these kind of tools. Like it's really easy. And there are so many people who know how to use these tools, but they don't have clients. And there are less people who have clients, but they don't know how to use these tools. Guess who wins? The people who have clients. They can get others to build it for them or anything. They can learn it. People can learn it in 2 weeks. Right, so that's what's actually going on. So don't waste your time in hopes, firstly, that you'll just send random stuff. Secondly, that you just sit in a room and you're trying to build it for months, you're trying to perfect it, which no one even sees. And even if you're in a low ticket business, so many people will just outright tell you that this is a complete scam, it's not going to work. And that is kind of true. But if you're new and you don't have any specialized skill, and you're like completely new and you're still learning, so what I would suggest to you is that if you want to do this, so don't sell some random template. Like don't sell some random automation. No one's going to buy it. But what you can sell is actually a bundle of them. And by that, I'll give you an example of my friend who did this. So he had some agro-tech companies. So he was in touch with some agro-tech companies, and he had some agro-tech, which basically means agriculture tech. right? So how they surveil their farms and all that stuff. So he had these automations. But if he roamed around holding it like pamphlets, as I said, like handouts, no one's gonna buy them. But he bundled them together to make a complete solution. Right, so that's one way that you just bundle them and make a complete solution without having an external platform or some kind of expensive SaaS. So that's what he did, and he actually bundled 9 of them. It was some kind of crop detection and their inventory management and all that stuff. So he was able to sell it. So to even do this thing, the low ticket one, you would have to put yourself out there a lot, and people trust you less because there is actually no accountability. Because if you think about it, your entire product is worth 1 or 2K. So there probably won't be any retainer. There won't be any retainer type offers and anything else. So you just sell them and you just go away. So if you're doing that, so that basically implies that there is no accountability. And if there's no accountability in the product you're selling and some kind of benchmarking and quality assurance you're doing, it's not going to work. And if you're in the low ticket business, even if you sell a few people, those are not actually clients because you're just randomly trying to sell. So that means whoever even buys stuff from you, they won't even be long-term customers. So you won't have that network effect and anything else going for you. So it basically implies so it basically implies there are no clients and there is no churn, right? Because if you don't have any clients, there is no churn. And this is not the most effective way to go about things. And if you want to do this, right, so you need to have an edge. So either you know people physically or you have an audience. Else this is not going to work. So don't waste your time, or at least months. Like you can just learn about these things in 15 days. Right, so you can try it for 15 days, that's good, but don't waste months on it. So now let's get to mid-ticket sizes. So these are generally automations and systems, I should add here. Systems worth this much. And there's also a retainer model, generally, to upgrade them as the technology is developing fast and getting new things. So now let's talk about businesses that work. So here is a list, right? So I'll add more things to this, but currently let's look at a few things. And even before we talk about these exact ones specifically, let's look at this green box. It says the closer you are to money, the more money you make. And I don't even say that as a metaphorical extension, right? I don't mean like you'll sit next to a room with money so you'll make more money. I mean that if your clients are dealing with more money, it's a high cash flow business. You're gonna make more money. So let's look at 2 examples to understand what I mean. The first example would be that you are an agency or some kind of service that helps people grow on Instagram. That's one. And the other is that you're a client acquisition helper. So you help lead gen or client acquisition agencies get more clients. So let's look at the exact flow. So the people hire you to grow their accounts. Then, assuming their KPI is that they're selling some product, they get that money. And that money flows. So then they justify that they're paying you 2 to 4K a month and you're getting them some X amount of ROI, X percentage, and they should hire you. Right, so you can exactly see how complicated this gets. How the KPI numbers are kind of undefined and not exactly working in your favor. And this is also kind of a gray zone. Like some people try to justify it, some people are trying to not justify it, what exactly is going on. So if you're operating in these niches, you're going to have a hard time compared to these people. Because the idea is that you do something, you do some action, and that action directly impacts the other companies or clients' revenue. And the numbers go up, and then you can just say, that look, the numbers went up because of this, and this is how much it went up. So that's your ROI, right? So you can see how clear it is. Like your ROI should be, so when people invest in your services, the ROI should be clear. If it's not clear, this is what's going to happen. You'll churn clients because even they're not able to make up their mind because it's extremely hard to pinpoint all this data. I mean, if it's a huge growth, you can clearly see it and you can justify it. But when it's not an exponential growth, it is hard to say. And some people think they can just do it themselves. Right, so when you're doing these kind of businesses, which is all this, they have direct impact. And you can clearly see the ROI and justify it and actually have retainers that work. They don't churn, you can have clients. So let's look at all of them. Right, and these are directly related to their business. So the first is lead automation and workflows. So you get them clients and this is not some random automation. And when I talk about these, I don't talk about some random anything template, some JSON file that you can just place into their system. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an entire system that you have a lead inbound system, then it goes to a CRM, then you clean it, you filter it. And when you install these entire pipelines, that's when you'll get these clients. So you won't just get a client that you just roam around holding a lead generation agent. Look at this. This is my anything template and buy it. That's not how it works. You sell them the results. and you establish an entire system. And the same goes for content automation systems. When you do this, you should have scale, and it should be directly justified on how you're adding value. And from now, as you go down the list, you can see that there's proposal and quoting, custom chatbots. And when I say custom, I mean extremely custom, not just some random agent and then you just put the plugin on the web page. Customer onboarding workflows, advanced scraping insights, HR agents, voice agents, and voice agents can be of different type. You can have cold calling agents, sales training agents, which I'm going to show you when we build that on this channel. And I'm actually going to show you all this on this channel. And if you look closely, you can see how this is entirely a system, right? This is an exact system that all of this encompasses one thing, that you grow a business. If you look at this, this is the entire pipeline that you start with lead generation, which starts actually with the scraping and any other kind of outbound system you're using, no matter if it's cold emailing, scraping leads, directly reaching out to them, cold calling. So it actually starts here. And then you set up the entire follow-up and appointment setting. And then you add it to the CRM pipelines. Then you actually automate the entire process of proposal and quoting systems. And you have customer onboarding workflows. So you're doing some kind of HR tech or payroll tech, right? You're automating businesses in the backend. So that's how you get these clients, and you have no churn because you're actually providing results. So if you just roam around with these little templates, that's not going to work. And this is how you actually do it. And when you implement these, you will see direct results. And for doing this, I even added one more thing, which is the fake influencers in e-com. There's a lot of people currently who just generate fake influencers with AI, and they're making a lot of money with social media. So that's the kind of things, the innovative things you need to do. Like if you just roam around trying to automate random stuff for yourself and other people, that's not going to work. So now let's talk about high ticket clients. What exactly goes into this? And as I said, for the low and mid ticket sizes that you can just learn skills on the fly, there's nearly zero accountability here. There's some accountability here because you actually need to provide results or they're just going to fire you. So there is an automatic implied accountability. But in high ticket clients, there's an actual accountability. And now I'll tell you all the information that no one tells you. What exactly goes into getting high ticket clients, which means each client worth 20K, 30K, and all this stuff. So the first thing that you need to know to get these clients is that you need to target people who have money and those who have these complicated repetitive tasks. Like if you go to people who don't even make that much money, you're not going to get these clients. So generally, the people who fit those personas are law firms, but not too big law firms that they can just hire anyone. Like if they can just hire Microsoft, they're not going to hire you. So it should be like a mid-sized firm, but it has to make a fair amount of money. Like at least it has to justify getting your 20,000 service. And as we go on, I'll tell you what that looks like. Doctors and clinic, small insurance companies, and the other companies who need HR, payroll, and all this tech. Because as the company grows, they actually need all these things. They need the CRM and all that stuff. And you can look how this is extremely low churn rate. So let me give you an example of how selling to these kind of clients looks like. Right. So when companies get too big, let me show you an example. So this is Rippling. This is a company which does HR, IT, and payroll management, which simply means like a dashboard which does everything in one place. And you can see how this is a product, and you might not be able to guess how big this company is. So when I tell you that, you might think how big this company can be, right? How much can they be worth? So let me tell you, they're worth around $17 billion. Yes, the B. Why? Because everyone needs this. These kind of products have lock-in. So like you use it, you just don't go away. Like everything is inside this kind of database and this system. And there's low churn because most companies just don't shut overnight. So you have churn here, there's like extreme churn here. And to be honest, if you ask me, there are not even clients here. So let alone churn. So there's churn here. But when you go to high ticket, you actually have two kind of domains. One is you build custom solution for people. And then the other is that you have the solution so much figured out and dialed down that you can actually build a company out of it. Or like a SaaS. So this is a SaaS. This is a high ticket, high touch SaaS. Right. So they just give you quote and they just do everything for you. And you can see what exactly are they doing. It's a platform, they do HR, they do tax management, and this is too much. We don't need to get here. But you get the idea, the kind of solutions you need to sell. And if you look at this, this is like an extreme example. But if we look here, the leads automation, the CRM pipeline, the HR pipeline, and all that stuff, all this is like a dialed down version of this, or the high ticket version. So you can understand, like you actually have to create a value to get these clients. And there's another thing, that there's a barrier to entry. And the barrier to entry is your knowledge and how much you know. So now I'll tell you what no one tells you, which is these things. So when you sell to these clients have sensitive data. They have other regulations. And that barrier to entry is your knowledge and the compliance issues. So you need to tackle compliance. And if you're not ready to go there, you should actually stick to mid-ticket size and expand your agency, and you can reach higher numbers. There are people doing 40K, 100K a month as well with this. But if you want to go to high ticket size, you need to know these concepts. So when you're going to be building solutions for these people, you won't just give them some kind of template or install some little system on their computer. You will have to do the entire thing. You'll have to do front end. So you would be doing entire things for them. For example, you'll be doing the front end, you will have back end, and you will have all the middle pipelines, right? The data collection and how you're processing and all that stuff. So when you do this, you have to implement these solutions really effectively and not breach any compliance issue, and also keep their sensitive data secure. So let's talk about a few things. So when you'll be developing AI solutions for them, and if that involves LLMs and generally AI, they're not going to be buying if you just integrate OpenAI, Claude, or DeepSeek or something. And you might have seen some videos on how you can use Pinecone and RAG and you can build these solutions. That is great. If they don't have any sensitive data, this is good. But if they have it, they're not going to use it because they want everything in-house. What that means is a locally hosted LLM, a fine-tuned or whatever model, and a locally hosted vector database. Right, and we're going to build all this on this channel. So subscribe if you want to learn all about this. So let's get into the exact technicals, what you need to make sure when you do this. So firstly, let's talk about role-based access control. So what role-based access control is that when you have a system, so there should be clear defined roles with boundaries on what a user can and cannot do. So if you're thinking that you'll just be able to build a backend pipeline, for example, building these pipeline in Anyten is fairly easy. Hosting and building these custom solution is a bit hard, but now this is where the real challenge begins, that you need to implement all these things and pass the compliance checks. So for example, let's look at this example. So we have this template which we have hosted in our community that you can just use and package your services and sell it. So I'm going to show it to you. So this template actually has role-based access control. So in the background, you can have clear roles, for example, admin, user, and any kind of role. And then you can define what permission they have, like what can they do, what they can't do, and all the cybersecurity stuff as well. And making sure everything is secured in the database, for example, implementing role security and all kind of other checks. Right, I'm going to show it to you. So when we package these dashboards, so I'm going to show you the dashboard in a second as it loads. So you can actually get this from here. So here it's logged in. So when I go to dashboard, right, firstly, you can only access dashboards if some things run true. For example, you have the subscription or something else. So when you build these custom dashboards for a client, it needs to have clear separation of concerns in the backend, right? You can't see the backend from here, but you get the idea of how you can sell automation. So you can have 5 automation here with everything customized, and you have services running in the backend, and you can have credits on how much time they can run. You can have the error rate if the service fails. So you know what's going on. They can create new agents and they can ask you, and you have everything implemented here, including billing and all that stuff. Right. So these are the custom solutions you need. So you cannot just enter the high ticket domain without knowing things. You have to make sure the compliance, for example, GDPR and HIPAA compliance, that you need to have certain record, and HIPAA compliance, for example, having certain privacy policies, concerns, and disclosures in place, access control list, proper audit trails. You just randomly cannot do anything. Then there's a thing called fee reduction, and this comes into play when you're building for doctors and clinics. These are extreme high-paying clients. One service can be upwards of $50,000, and it is extremely justified. So if you have a law firm here, and they have some kind of data ingestion system, right, and they're doing it manually, so they have 2 people every month they pay full-time salaries to. So at the end of the day, so even if I'm being conservative, they pay at least $90,000 a year, right? And what they do is actually look at all the data, and they classify documents and make sure everything is structured, and they store it in the backend, and they just feed it, and you can understand how much data they have to deal with, exact things. So if you implement a custom pipeline, for example, you have this kind of front end like this, and then you have a backend, which is a custom data ingestion system with LLMs and vector databases and all this kind of stuff. And that reduces these 2 people's work to literally nothing. And you can see that every year they spend $180,000 for this. And if they have an in-house solution, for example, 30K, that is already justified, that it works all the time, and you just improve it a bit, make sure there are no issues. But to build these solutions, you need good benchmark. So the fee reduction comes into place when you're dealing with medical information. So when you store it, you cannot simply just store the information. So the things have to be blurred out, and that's how the data system looks like, the data pipelines. For example, you get all the data records from here, so you have your data pipeline, and all the information comes here, but all the private information is hidden by default. So you implement backend automations to hide them, and then you store it, and then you can implement the entire retrieval system. And you have a good authentication system. You have good data retention systems in the back end, so nothing gets bloated. You package them correctly, and even how data is deleted. So there needs to be clear and proper documentation and audits, and how you do it in your processes, and how the entire data is transferring between this backend and the front end. How is the encryption handled? So this is what exactly, and you can imagine the standard cybersecurity things. So this is the kind of solution that gets you those big clients and the big numbers you see. And for each build, you can charge a lot. And when you look at this, you can realize how accountable you are. You're accountable for the entire AI infra. And this is what the real infra is. So there's a lot of information going on that you can just build a simple agent and you can put it in Lovable. And that's the AI infra. That is not AI infra. This is the AI infrastructure. How data is moving, leaks and hacks. You have to make sure about everything. And this is where the high ticket clients are. For example, you see lawyers and all those people who make a lot of money. This is the solution you sell to them. And that's how you can make a lot of money too. So when you're starting, and this is what the roadmap looks like. So when you're a complete beginner, you start here, and then you're just building random automation. You're trying to sell to people, you're outreaching somehow, and then you sell it. But then you change to mid-ticket products. But mid-ticket is fairly scalable. It is extremely scalable if you do it right. And the scale should not come by people. Like, you just cannot hire more people and in the name of scaling. You need to have proper systems in place. In today's age, because of AI, there are one-man companies which do all of this with proper systems, because everything is handled by AI. Sure, if they had one or two more people, the optimization might go up by a few percent, but it is still extremely scalable. And there's medium level churn, and not even medium if you provide good services. If the offer is good enough, there is less churn. And the reason you grow is not by hiring new clients. You retain them. And that's what actually builds up the numbers. And that is why giving good services is extremely important. So what most people do is they are extremely focused on getting new clients, but they have mid services. Right. So when you have mid services, what's actually going to happen is the clients are going to leave you. And you'll be in this forever cycle of trying to get more clients, and they don't stay. So you should have extremely good offers and extremely good services. And if you get a first client and he just stays, so that's just piling up 5K each month. That's just piling up 2K each month if that's your service. Right. So you don't grow these numbers. For example, you hear people who actually run 40K agencies, they just don't run because they have just people coming in. They run because they have services that are scalable and people don't leave. This kind of scale is more than what people make in their entire lives. Like, they can never get to 40K a month. But even if you master all this, at least even this, you don't even need to touch these high ticket stuff because this is advanced. You can still just need to sell to 20 people. Like, can you just imagine closing 20 people in 6 months or even a year? Like, even if this number is achieved in a year or 2 years, that's still great. Like people don't get there in their entire lives. So you can imagine how doable it is, but only if you have good services and whatever you do is actually right. Right? So these are the proper paths that you can take to achieve this. Like, if you're trying to randomly sell automations and then you just waste months or even years, and then you're like, oh, this just doesn't work. Well, of course it doesn't work. You're not doing it right. Your existence should be directly influencing your clients' numbers and the results. That's what you're here for. And even if you look at the onboarding times, so you have people coming in, you just take them through the entire onboarding flow, you install systems for them, you explain them how they can use it, and this takes days to weeks, right? So this is actually doable. And this is how the life cycle looks like. The life cycle is actually a lot shorter than these high ticket products. The life cycle is that you implement the solutions, and it takes a bit longer to do it into their existing solutions and actually working with them with their tech stack and implementing these solutions. And once those changes are in place, you will see some results, and you optimize for the results. And then when you see how the ROI is, and then they'll see how the ROI is, your retainer will be extremely justifiable. Right? And that's how you actually scale these things. So that will be all for this video. If you want to learn more about this stuff, so make sure you subscribe. There will be a lot of content coming about all this stuff so you can learn more.